Brooke, and this is...
My name is Nick Aragon.
I asked Nick to come here tonight to help me with some spooky stories! Some of them aren't scary.
No.
I ripped a page out.
Okay.
Okay.
Come on.
I'm sorry. What story are we reading next?
Read off some of the titles.
The House That Was Never Finished, which is actually the Winchester Mystery House. I don't want to read that one.
Yeah, I'm done with the house stories.
Cellar Door.
That sounds like it's gonna be in a house.
The Girl Who Was Witched Away.
Maybe.
The Haunted Church. Julia and Walking Auto.
That sounds like a bad band.
The Cottage on Clarkson Street.
It's another house story? No, come on.
They're all house stories out. The Shaking House.
Is that about an earthquake?
The Haunted Apartment.
There really is a haunted apartment. It's just getting smaller and smaller homes.
The Playroom.
Yeah, that's just a room in now a place where you live.
Okay, the Playroom sounds freaky because anything with children freaks me the fuck out.
Yeah, there was a child in the last one made no appearances. We just found out he was dead and then made the doorknob hot, and then some lady didn't leave her house after that.
Ghosts Along the Road.
That sounds like good friends you meet throughout life. Like some friends I met along the road of life, some ghosts I met on the road. Let's just do the Haunted Church.
Are you just saying that because I picked it?
Yeah.
It's so nice. Oh my god. Okay. 32, 33. Oh my god, I made that. Oh.
Spooky drinks.
That was way stronger than the last. In upstate New York, not far from Kingston, a for sale sign hangs outside an empty church. The price is low, but nobody seems willing to buy it. The building has been for sale for a long time. Perhaps it's because people say it is haunted. They claim that at dusk, a white face with eyes like prune pits can sometimes be seen behind the broken windows. The problems began in the 1950s. A lot of problems began in the 1950s. Up until then, the church had been a busy, bustling place. On Sundays, people came to worship. On weekdays, the minister let local groups use the big basement room for meetings and gatherings.
For their open mics.
Mrs. Amelia Garson was den mother for the Cub Scouts in 1952. She was in the church basement about 5 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon. The troop had come and gone, and she stayed behind to clean up.
Do you think the author of this story was like, yeah, this is interesting. I'll keep this in here. Look, this was a busy church, okay? We're not talking about some loser church. We had stuff going on every day.
I just feel like she's that woman who always has to martyr. Like, no, you go. I'll clean. And then the next day at church, she's like, I cleaned the whole time. Everybody left me.
In her confessional that she treats like the Office style confessional like this, but it's just her talking to a priest.
See. Dusk was falling when she finished. God damn it. This bitch. She was putting on her coat when she heard footsteps on the floor above. Thinking that Mr. Cardle, the minister, had come back, she hurried upstairs.
Cleaned the soot off of her eyes. Washed the black ash off of her fingers.
The church was empty. But a moment later, she heard the sound of footsteps rushing back and forth. They came from behind the pulpit, she remembers. I thought maybe one of the boys had gotten back in and I was playing there, so I marched right up to the aisle to put a stop to that.
Did she have an accent?
Yes. It's 1952.
They all had accents in 1952?
Hell yeah. Near the pulpit, Mrs. Garson stopped and let out a shriek. A figure dressed in black suddenly leapt out at her. It moved so fast that she couldn't be sure whether it was a woman or a man in a long black coat. But she never forgot its chalk white face and sunken black eyes, or the long, bone-thin arms reaching out at her.
You think this is just like a guy that goes to her church and she's just like brutally describing him?
I feel like it's me in this lighting.
Oh. He's all like, hey, come on.
Hey.
Ghoulish face.
You need a tan.
Bony fingers.
Ugh. She was too scared to move. But just as it got near enough to touch me, it vanished. 1 minute it was there, the next it wasn't. The next it wasn't. When Mrs. Garson called...
But did she say the next it wasn't twice?
Yes.
She was like, it was there. Then it wasn't. Man.
When Mrs. Garson got home, she was so shaken that her husband wanted to call the police. The police can't help, she insisted. What I saw was a ghost. Call the minister and tell him to come over. Okay, she has a real thing for Mr. Cardle. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm. Any excuse.
To see Mr. Cardle.
There's ghosts. Mr. Cardle, please.
Please, perform an exorcism on me. When Mr. Cardle, Mrs. Garson's lover, arrived, she told him what had happened. He shook his head. There are no such things as ghosts, he said.
The priest said this.
Yeah.
Don't come in here with none of that ghosts and gods and shit. Trying to make money in this church.
And even if there were, what would a ghost be doing in church? Some trick of the light made you think and you saw someone.
This is so weird to me that he's a priest and he's just like,
Mansplaining?
the supernatural? What the hell are you talking about?
He's like hella mansplaining to her.
Mansplaining the spirit world?
Yeah. Some trick of the light made you think you saw someone. After all, it was getting dark and there were lots of shadows. What I saw was no shadow, said Mrs. Garson stubbornly.
Well, she is very loud though too.
Yeah.
She is yelling at him a lot. Do you think that that she's regularly bringing problems to him and then that's why he's so tired of her? Like he's just like, oh, okay, first it was like there's raccoons in the piano or whatever. Now it's ghosts. You know, like she's always got something.
Yeah, I feel like that
Boy Who
she's
Cried Wolf syndrome.
in love with him.
Uh-huh. So she's always like, ooh, come save me.
She's always looking for an excuse to talk to him.
Save me, Mr. Garrison.
He's Mr. Curdle. She's Mrs. Garrison.
Oh, okay.
What I saw was no shadow, said Mrs. Garrison stubbornly.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard it running, too.
Heard the ghost running.
Yeah.
I'm more on the priest side now. You rarely see a ghost running.
I mean, when you gotta go, you gotta go.
Mm-hmm.
A few weeks later, another member of the congregation also got a scare. Lee Groves, the church organist, came in on Saturday afternoon to practice.
Mm-hmm.
His playing was interrupted by the sound of laughter.
You're like, oh, damn kids trying to play my creepy organ. Mm-hmm. Oh, what the hell?
That sounds like Boo from Nintendo.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sounds a little bit like SpongeBob, too.
Groves swung around on the bench and peered down the aisle. It seemed to him that someone dressed in black was sitting at the back of the church. Can I help you? He called out.
They're very rude in this church.
The figure didn't answer, but began to laugh again. Mr. Groves thought that perhaps the intruder was drunk.
Mm-hmm. When in fact it was he who was drunk again.
And too much of the blood of Christ. If you don't feel well, he shouted, please leave. Then he began to play again. The laughter got louder. Wait, I can do the nanny. Or like Janice.
Those are the same person.
Anyways, if you don't feel well, he shouted, please leave. Then he began to play again. The laughter got louder. Groves looked around and saw that the figure seemed to double up on the seat. It was rocking back and forth, overcome by giggles. Groves became angry. He got up and walked down the aisle. This is a house of worship, he said. If you can't behave properly, please leave. As he said this, the figure seemed to gather itself together. Then it appeared to expand and surged toward him. Its strange white face was only inches from his. He could see glistening tear stains on its cheeks.
Can we talk about this picture? Is that guy draped in a shower curtain?
Is that the ghost or the priest?
That's got to be the ghost, right? It'd be like weird for the priest to be dressed like
This
this.
is the priest.
The priest is over here and he's got his arms folded like he could give a fuck about this actual supernatural thing happening in his church. Because he's like, no, I got to get back to talking about what if something supernatural happened.
Anyways, but because I spent a lot of time growing up in the church, so this really resonates.
But you
I
garbage
picture
ghosts,
all
garbage
these
bag
people.
ghosts resonate with you because of...
Yes! Every fourth Sunday of the month. Anyways, where were we at? Wait, where did we stop?
Groves was sure of one thing. It was the face of an old woman. Because if it's not, that's a good slam by Groves. I will say, just get after him. Like if it's a man ghost, he's like, oh, it's an old lady. That's a good, all right, I respect you, Groves. Taking a shot like that at a ghost. I respect him. I respect him, man.
What do you say?
Because he calls the ghost an old lady, and I don't think it is.
I think I've already buzzed.
Okay.
Okay, wait. Can you?
But Groves was sure of one thing. That's a face of an old woman. The following Sunday turned out to be the last time there would ever be a crowd in the little church. As Mr. Cardle began his service, a sudden commotion broke out in the gallery that ran across the back room. Everyone present heard the sounds of running footsteps and crazy laughter. The congregation turned around to see who was making such noise. What they saw turned their curious expressions into expressions of horror. The black-clad figure came floating out of the gallery. As it moved up the aisle, it seemed to be at least 2 feet off the floor. Its arms were thrust out before it, its hands turned palms upward. A strange hissing whisper came from it. "Don't turn me out," it seemed to be saying. "Don't send me away." Don't turn me out? What does that mean? Many people were screaming. One man, braver than the rest, made a grab for the floating figure. His hand passed right through it. Again, the penetrating whisper came. "If I must go, all must go."
Oh shit!
Wow, that ghost got super for real there. Like at the last second.
Oh shit!
Here's what I have found out. As most of you know, our church was built 30 years ago on the foundation of another church, which burned down. Otherwise, we'd probably still be using that older building. Okay. It seems like one of the parishioners of the old church was a woman named Kate Braid. She was a deeply religious person. I hope so. If she worked at the church, I hope she was pretty religious. Okay. And did many good works in the community. Good for her. Then a sad thing happened. What? This guy talking to his
Congregation.
Like they're 5. And then a thing happened. Kate's mind became unbalanced. Her personality changed. When she came to the church, it was to disturb worshipers by laughing and running up and down the aisles.
Here it is. A woman was enjoying herself.
Mm-hmm. People felt sorry for the old woman. It is weird when you see an old woman running up and down the aisle, I will say that. They remembered...
She's living her best life.
I don't think that's true. It says right here, people felt sorry for her, so I don't know that it doesn't matter. They remembered what a good person she had been, and for those reasons, they let her run naked up and down the aisles of the church.
Amen, Sister Kate Braid.
For these reasons, they tried to pull up, sorry, it's very funny. For these reasons, they tried to put up with her for a long time, but finally, her presence was too disturbing. A vote was taken, and Kate was asked to leave the church forever. They took a vote as to whether or not they should keep the woman that kept running up and down the aisles during their sermons.
This is so messed up, 1952.
Was there no security they could have this woman leaving? Like, okay. She got into the bell tower one night and hanged herself. That was her reaction to getting voted off the island.
Her closest, dearest friends were like, she's insane, when she was having the best time of her life.
They were like, she's insane when she was insane. Okay. It may be that the figure we have seen is the unhappy spirit of Kate Braid. Whatever it is, we should all pray that it finds rest. The congregation regrouped. For months, they came to services and prayed as Mr. Cardle had asked. But they were often interrupted by the bell in the church tower. It would begin to ring wildly. But when Mr. Cradle went to investigate, no one was ever there. Nothing Mr. Cradle could do seemed to help. He gave up, and the services were moved to another building. The haunted church was put up for sale. When I last passed by that way, it was still there, forlorn and empty. Or was it empty? I didn't stop to find out. What the fuck? Then how did you pick up this story?
I feel like this is a very feminist tale. I just like punched you.
Who's the guy who like was like, look, I didn't stop at this church, but I read all about it, and this is what I heard.
No, I feel bad for Kate. I feel like she was like, I'm really enjoying life, and wanted to share it with the place that meant most to her, the church.
Mm-hmm.
And the church was like, fuck you.
Yeah, I don't think it happened in like just like that. There is this whole thing in there where she's disturbing all the services and running up and down the aisles.
All right.
There is that, you keep like glossing over that part when she becomes
maybe she like felt the spirit.
An insane person.
She felt the spirit. That's what happened.
Yeah, I don't feel bad for that lady.
I do.
Those were two stories. Only one had Mabel in it, and only one wasn't the worst.
Which one was the worst?
The Mabel one.
I feel like they're scary. Oh, the Mabel one was worse than the church one?
No, I think the Mabel one was better. The church one was like nothing. I feel like nothing happened.
The Mabel
I don't know if that was just like, if there was a real ghost or if there was just like a haunted bag of leaves or whatever that like attacked the church and then turned out was an old lady. And then like the priest like didn't care that he was being haunted by a ghost.
Yeah.
He was just kind of like, okay, fine. Because of all the complaints, I have looked into it. And yes, a woman died here or something.
He was very like anti.
He was very anti the spirit world for someone who's supposed to be like someone that understands the spirit world.
That's very true.
That wasn't good. Those stories weren't good.
Amen. Happy Halloween. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Brooke. This is
Nick.
And subscribe to my channel and like this video. Thank you.